Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Pleasure to have this very, very distinguished panel here with us today. And also this audience, I think, and especially to see the young people in it. Oxfam India has been working on property rights for women for a long time. One of the things we realize is that when we use the term farmer in India, it's not necessarily a picture of a woman that springs to mind. And we have campaigns which just say basically to even recognize that these women are working there, they're doing everything that a farmer does, except for the fact that they don't own the land that they work on so hard. Lot of complex problems associated with mindsets, with laws, with their implementation, and I think this panel will just about cover all different aspects of that. And with that, I would like to start with the Minister. We have a policy brief.
For me, the rights of women go beyond property rights, but no doubt property rights have to be ensured, have to be recognized, have to be enshrined in law, and the legal provisions have to be implemented. Indian agriculture, if you look at all the papers that are published on Indian agriculture, it's about input prices, fertilizer subsidy, power subsidy, procurement prices, but there are very few, other than of course Beena's work, very few which have talked about and dealt with the growing feminization of Indian agriculture. So this gender dimension of agriculture is indeed very important. Very recently my ministry brought out a national land reforms policy. There are many sections in the land reform policy that deal with gender equality, with gender rights, the rights of women landowners. If we have a policy that ensures that land acquisition will not be done unless resettlement and rehabilitation is ensured fully, then I think automatically many of the issues that are dealt with in the policy briefs will be addressed. I will take the policy briefs with me, and we will certainly try to see how the recommendations contained in the policy briefs get reflected more fully and in a much more direct way in some of the programs that my ministry runs.
It's actually property rights is the flavor of the month. There are so many conferences going on now. But in 1994, when my book, A Field of One's Own, came out, and Jairam Ramesh and I had a conversation about it on his breakfast show, virtually nobody was talking about it. So it's taken 2 decades for us to arrive at this point. Now, where are we, therefore, on this? Of course, laws are not enough. Who wouldn't agree with that? But awareness of the laws are very, very, very important. The government has legal aid. You have actually quite a good policy on legal aid and so on, but it's not connected. People don't know about it, women can't access it. Perhaps we should have a mobile van service like the health service to go to every panchayat, let's say on the Monday of every week, with a lawyer who gives you information and says, look, these are your rights, and have a referral system saying if you want to claim it, then maybe these are the lawyers you could move to.
In the 11th plan, which is where we started the process of trying to introduce gender into the plan as a cross-cutting theme, in the 12th plan, the roadmap goes a step further, exactly in the area of women and land. The subject which is exercising us today on women, children and nutrition, which is one of the subjects I look after, we have created a matrix which holds other sectoral ministries responsible for women, children and nutrition, because this is certainly not anything which can be relegated to one sector. I think it's a sensible thing, it's a grueling thing. It's not easy because it means that it's the nitty-gritty. It's not so glamorous, but I think that is the course that moves us forward.
The 12th plan is unprecedented in the amount of civil society engagement, thanks to Saidaji and others, where all of us got involved and the whole planning commission members toured the country, got inputs not just from civil society but from the communities themselves to design a great document. Kirti, I mean, this is a real puzzle for us about this country where we have the most fantastic and progressive laws. Why are these fantastic laws, FRA and PESA and so many, world-class laws that just don't get implemented?
What we do is we bring a fantastic half law and we may leave some loopholes in it. Of course, there are problems which still remain in the laws. And one of the major problems is that in several states, personal laws apply. And personal laws, I don't just mean, the Hindu law applies to it, but I mean Muslim law applies to Muslims, the Parsi law applies to Parsis, and Christian law applies to Christians. And in all these, though to different degrees, there are discriminatory provisions. There are also other problems with inheritance, with how a woman's property is inherited, for instance. It's not enough to change inheritance laws. I think we need to look at other property rights as well, because women need to have an equal right to marital property, which we don't have in this country.
Kirti, I guess listening to you gives us some insight into why the laws don't get implemented. And then on top of it, we have new laws that are needed, like the one you just mentioned about the Indian women's right to marital property. With that, I'd like to now invite Professor Zoya Hassan. So you work a lot on gender equality. Maybe you could shed some light on this from your perspective. Thank you.
I think that we need to really go beyond property rights, which is that the principal issue, as far as I can see, is really the economic rights of women, because they're just property rights, important as they are not going to benefit everyone. And I think the time has come to say that at least as far as economic rights are concerned, economic rights, inheritance, property, and so on and so forth, there has to be some uniformity across communities. Finally, I think all of this obviously requires greater women's mobilization. And I think that is the need of the hour. And in this connection, I want to congratulate Oxfam for taking this very excellent initiative of give women their share. And I would just amend that by saying, give women their share across communities.
I'll turn now to Peter. So we want to deliver inclusive growth. It has to come through agriculture. We want to focus on women as farmers. And maybe you could tell us what FAO is doing about this.
So 2 years ago, in FAO's flagship publication on agriculture, the state of food and agriculture, focused on women in agriculture, basically documenting that not only in land, but in access to the essential the other necessary parts of agricultural production, whether it is inputs, whether it's water, whether it's access to markets, access to credit, access to technical advice, women are systematically excluded. And if, just on the land that women operate now in the world, if women had access to all the other parts of production and access to the full use of the land, the world's agricultural production would go up 3 or 4%. And the number of extra people in the world that would be fed is about 150 million. All the data that FAO assembled indicated there's a tremendous gap. This requires tremendous attention, and the benefits to the world would be tremendous.
So Greg, we are ending with you so that you can inspire us and leave us with hope that there is, we can implement the most complex laws under the most complex situations.
First of all, I want to thank Oxfam for its dedicated work over the last many years. So if you look in Orissa and you see a progressive government trying to implement homestead across the state to make sure that every landless family has a title, patta, to land. And in the process of doing this and working with the communities, what became apparent is that women go uncounted. They're invisible. Because they were not counted, we're not receiving land, and we're not receiving land from the state government schemes. Some of the reactions from the government officials is, we never thought about this. It's not just a woman's thing. It's our thing. It has to do with our families. It has to do with the future. Make sure that those young women, when they go to the next family and when they remain in contact with their natal family, that those land rights are preserved, and that they have access to the inheritance rights.
Feminists sort of taking stock of where we are, and there was consensus saying we're the third generation of feminists, and we have to now, the biggest battle is within the family, to start that attitude of equality, sharing, equal rights and all of that. And this will be tougher than fighting the state or fighting the corporate world or other areas where progress is being made.
Wherever you see reservation for women, everybody says 33% in parliament and outside. Why not 50%?
Ross Cantor, who teaches in the Harvard Business School, said that there is a token minimum, which doesn't make much of a difference, 15%, and then as you go up, it makes a significant difference. There's no reason to stop there, and Rwanda was one of the first countries to actually take it to 50% in legislatures.
How secure widows are in land ownings, and how much they are actually discouraged from remarrying because of these disqualifications.
Very few families actually take very good care of their own widows within the family. In fact, they're seen as a liability. And particularly when it comes to land, is it basically they're tried to get rid of in order to be able to access the land.
Now, the question, of course, is more complex, which is that a widow's rights are recognized because she's seen as part of the marital family, and it'll then go to the son. So if women have sons, they're more likely to inherit. If they don't have sons, they're not.
So a very, very, very large and unfinished agenda, but a very exciting one. I think this lies at the heart of what we call empowerment, transformation, and all of those words. And we are certainly very committed to it, and we are very excited to see all of you here who I hope will join hands. And thank you all for coming.